we sort of made our way through that, made friends in those, but when we got to the 10th grade, we had arrived, and it was, we got to those halls of Lee, and, you know, those juniors and seniors scared us to death, but we began to bond and make friends. And I don't know what it was about Lee High School, maybe Clinton Carter and people like that kept us in line. The different coaches, the different teachers. And so we bonded then. We bonded in the 10th grade. I remember very well the first person I met at Lee High School was Lynn Browder. And, you know, we made those friendships, and they lasted. And how that has affected all of us is that, look at us, you know, we're here 60 years later, and it's like we're still at Lee High School, listening to Sonny and the Rocky DeGolfers and all the things that, you know, entertained us back then. And let me tell you how it affected us. So I had an accident. This isn't about me, but I had an accident on December the 9th. And it was pretty life-threatening accident, actually. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. I got calls from, gosh almighty, people all over the country, people I've met. But you know who called me the most and who sent me the most messages? I probably got at least 100 messages, Facebook, emails, telephone calls from old classmates at Lee High School. And it's just hard to believe that we all stuck together that much. But you cannot imagine how motivational that was for me and how much that meant to me. That's what, you know, how we have stuck together. And I wanted to give you a little message. I want to give you a little something that happened with me that, and I'm going to call it sort of a message of hope. And I'm going to try not to get real emotional about it, but when I fell in the doctor's office, I passed out in the doctor's office, and I'm laying on the floor, according to them, and I said I'd been down there 5, 6, 7 minutes, and when I woke up, I was completely paralyzed. And I got questions. Why did you fall? How did you fall? Where did you fall? And I wanted to say, well, why don't you ask me where I lost my keys too? Because if I knew where the hell I lost my keys, you know, I'd go to them. You know, and it was very confusing. Every question in the world coming at me. But I was laying there, and I was paralyzed. I couldn't move, and I had my hand on my shoulder like that, but I thought my hand was laying out there. And I kept telling the doctor, I said, put my hand, or whoever it was, I said, put my hand on my chest. And they said, well, dummy, your hand's on your chest. And I looked down there, and sure enough, there was my hand, but I thought it was out here. And I guess that, you know, I don't know what caused that, but it was so confusing because they were asking me every question in the world, so I didn't have time to really think about anything. But I remember very well, I wasn't scared, I wasn't nervous, I didn't really, okay, I'm paralyzed, now what? So they jumped and they got me to the hospital, and I stayed in the operated, spinal fusion because I broke my C1 and C2 vertebrae, which is the same one that Superman, Chris Reeves, did, and the doctors told my family that, you know, at my age, that usually it would either kill you or paralyze you. So thank God I'm very lucky. But let me tell you, after I got kind of situated, I was doped up for, 7 or 8 days. I didn't know I was in the world. But once I got out, got my head clear, I started thinking about the whole situation. And it started coming back to me. When I was laying on that floor, there was something, and the best way I can describe it is that when we were kids, when we were little, and our mamas put us in the bed and said, it's time to go to bed, and you'd crawl up under the sheet, and your mama would take a blanket, or my mama would, take a blanket and kind of do it like that, and it would come down over you, and and you were safe, you had the blanket on you. Well, Well, that's sort of what I experienced laying on that floor. It was like a white, I didn't see lights up there like I was going up into heaven or something, but it was like a white blanket that just sort of covered me and said, I got you covered. You're going to be okay. And I don't have any doubt, after I started experiencing, I don't have any doubt that was my Lord and Savior that was saying, Jerry, it ain't quite time for you to go home, but I want you to know that I'm here, or there's something there to take care of you. And I think at our age, we're in the fourth quarter. We don't like to admit it, but we are in the fourth quarter. And especially us men that are 78, we've already outlived our time. And we can ask Mr. Carter how you do that, because he's a little bit older than us. But, we are in the fourth quarter, and I wanted to share that with you because, for those of y'all that, like me, have always wondered, what's next, what's out there. There is something out there waiting on us that's comforting and that's going to take care of us. So I wanted to tell y'all about that, and it was a pretty good experience once I realized once I got my head back clear, knew what was going on. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. And Betty has asked me to read off the names of the people that are no longer with us. Betty, since the last reunion, I was telling Patty Barber over there, at our 10th reunion, we had some people that had died, and I just ran across an article back then that said that you went to high school in the 60s, and by the time you had, for the decade, your 10th year, that about 10% of your classmates, that was the national average, about 10% of your classmates, your graduating class would have died. And we were right on schedule at Lee. I don't know if I've ever said that. So I don't know how it works right now, but we did lose some folks from the last reunion. But thank God it doesn't appear that it's not catastrophic. It is for these people, but anyway, let me read their names. There's Gerald Bubble Boone. All of y'all know Gerald. Doyle Fuller. Bob Harrison. I didn't realize Bob had passed away. Linda Marley Southern. Lydia Mae Levitt. Nancy, there's no way I can pronounce her middle name. McGilvery. Ellen McCray. Wow. Ricky Meyer, who I think we claimed as a classmate. Larry Scott. Jenny Hancock. Okay. I didn't realize that. Patrick Thomason. And Kitty Robinson. I know all of y'all probably remember Kitty, one of the prettiest girls you've ever seen. I didn't really know her that much in high school, but once she went into real estate business, she really made a good impact on real estate. Faye Taylor Donaldson, Sandra Johnson, and Connie Van Kaywater. That's Larry's wife.
Well, he's passed away.
And Larry passed away too?
Several years ago.
Yeah, I know Larry had some, maybe one lung or something. But, we ain't all gonna be here. Look, none of us gonna get out of here alive. So, I did want to share with y'all, what happened to me as far as my accident. And I wanted to tell y'all the gratitude that I feel for what all of y'all have done as far as your message and your prayers. It was so motivational. And then, of course, my wife has been with me every minute, every second of the day. I couldn't have made it without her. So she has stayed right with me. And Bobby asked me a while ago, said, I hope the chickens are good. I said, well, unfortunately, I don't think she's quite as impressed with me as she used to be. Like maybe I thought she was anyway. Well, look, y'all are a great group, and I really appreciate everything that y'all helped me get through. And Mr. Mr. Carter, we're certainly glad to see you and Cheryl here. You know, I feel like, I told you, you know, when I walked over there, I felt like I needed to bend over.
And you still been over?
Let me just say this, he made quite an impression on me. I think some of y'all in there probably felt the same thing. Especially when he was a good one, he didn't put up with nothing. He didn't put up with any crap that we tried to give him. And so, anyway, I love y'all and thank you so much for everything.